Hare Krishna. Welcome all the devotees. We were on the third chapter of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, and the main outline of Bhagavad Gita third chapter is on the screen, where the chapter starts with Arjun's confusion that what is better, renunciation of the activity or the activity doing the activity, what is better? So then Lord describes how if the heart is not pure, then renunciation will not work. That external show of renunciation will be mithyachar, be a job of a pretender. And then Lord describes how Nishkam Karma Yoga is better than jnana or renunciation of work. Then Lord describes that even though Arjun is pure, even though Arjun is qualified to renounce everything, then also he should do Nishkam Karma Yoga because he should set a good example for others to follow. Whatever great personalities do, others follow. So therefore, Arjun should still perform his actions for others. And Krishna tells that what to speak about others, even I follow the duties, I follow different sacrifices, and I do this to set a good example. And we have also discussed how our every action has some positive or negative impact on others, our subordinates, our family members. If you are some spiritual authority, then your followers. So always we are an example. Either we are a bad example or a good example. So like that, Krishna is inspiring Arjun that even though you are a pure soul and you are fit for renunciation, then also you should perform Nishkam Karma Yoga, the activities without attachment to the results for others to follow. And there was a question asked at the end of the class about 5 types of sacrifices which a householder should perform. So Prabhupada explains this in his purport that these 5 sacrifices are to different entities to whom we are obliged for our existence. We depend on others for our existence. Like first of them are Pitras. Pitras means forefathers. We are dependent on our forefathers. Because of them, we got our body. Therefore, there is first sacrifice to the forefathers. Second one is to the demigods, because demigods control different affairs of material nature, and we are obliged to different demigods for their service to us. So therefore, there is sacrifice to the demigods. Third is to rishis, to brahmanas, those who are reciters of the Vedas or the scriptures themselves. Basically, this sacrifices for the Vedic knowledge. It includes both the Brahmanas as well as the Vedic scriptures. So when we recite scriptures, when we read scriptures, that is also a sacrifice because we are obliged to the scriptures. They show us the way how to live, how to lead our life, how to leave this world. All these teachings we get from the scriptures. The fourth one is to other human beings. We are obliged to other human beings because we are dependent on each other. So feeding others, in distributing prasadam, and serving other human beings, these are also some sacrifices as our gratitude to other human beings. And fifth one is bhutapta, other living entities. Because we are depending on other living entities as well. We're depending on the animals, we're depending on the trees, we're depending on the birds. So all these living entities also we are depending on. So that also needs to be done. Now Srimad Bhagavatam says that one who is surrendered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one who is surrendered to Mukunda, he need not to do any of these sacrifices. But the problem is, this verse is very famous in the beginning part, that you are not obliged. But people forget the condition. What is the condition? If somebody is surrendered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, until and unless we are not fully surrendered, how we can claim to be free from all um, foundations or all oblations to different living entities? And to establish this point, Krishna says that even if you are completely pure, even if you are completely surrendered, then also one does all these sacrifices to set a good example. So Krishna is again and again requesting Arjun or guiding Arjun that how Nishkam Karma Yoga, which is technically called as a detached worker, is higher than an attached worker. What is detached worker? One who is detached from the fruitive activities. He is detached. One who is detached from the results of the fruitive activities, to be more specific. And one who is attached to the results of the fruitive activities, that person is called as attached worker. So now Krishna will give further distinction between an attached worker and a detached worker. So we will be continuing from verse number 25 of third chapter, where Krishna is telling this difference between attached worker and a detached worker. And he is also telling how a detached worker who is not attached to the results of the fruitive activities deals with attached worker. So these are some important verses. So I will request devotees to open their Bhagavad Gitas and keep it ready. Third chapter, 25th verse. Okay. So, Sachi Maharani Mataji, would you like to read the translation for 25th verse?
Yes, Prabhu. Am I audible?
Yes.
As the ignorant perform their duties with attachment to results, the learned may similarly act, but without attachment for the sake of leading people on the right path.
See, the beauty of Srila Prabhupada's translation is he makes things so easy. Prabhupada is telling that what is the difference between an ignorant person and a learned person? Both work. Their acts are similar, but learned person acts without attachment, and therefore he is on the right path. So what is the differentiated quality? The differentiated quality is desire. A liberated person, a learned person, does not do anything which is not conducive for his spiritual life. Externally, he may act just like an ignorant person. He may appear to be very attached to his activities, but his goal is Krishna's satisfaction, not his own personal sense gratification. When time comes, when he feels that the particular activity is an impediment for him in Krishna consciousness, he is ready to give up. But when he sees any opportunity which can be of Krishna's service, then he does not give it up. Rather, he does it for Krishna's satisfaction. The principle is termed by Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati as Yukta Vairagya. Like in Vedic times, Brahmanas were very detached and renounced. And generally, they stayed away from all material opulence. Like in scriptures, there is a mention that renunciates should stay in the caves, they should stay under the trees. But Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati made big, big temples of marble. In olden times, renunciates would walk bare feet. But Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati would ride in the car. There were a few cars in India that time which you can count on fingers. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati had one. and he would travel in a car, and he would wear a nice overcoat. So he would dress like Englishmen also. The principle was not personal sense gratification, but it was for the service of the Lord, because that time India was under the British rule, and he had to preach to the people who were predominated and enslaved by British. Srila Prabhupada was once asked in Mayapur that, why are you making such a big temple? Why, you all sadhu, renunciate people, why you need such a big temple? Prabhupada said, we don't need a temple. We can sit under a tree and chant Hare Krishna. But we are making this temple for you fools and rascals, because you won't come under a tree. You will come only to see big temples. So why we are making big temple? So that you all come. That was Prabhupada's answer. Another time, one reporter challenged Srila Prabhupada, and how do you get so much money? From where you get so much money to, so many people staying in your temples, they're not earning anything, and they're just, depending on you. How you get so much money? Prabhupada said, Krishna sends me money. So then this reporter asked, okay, well, I understand that, but more specifically, how you get the money? Then Prabhupada said, one example. Prabhupada said, see, Krishna is sitting in your heart. Prabhupada is telling to the reporter, Krishna is sitting in your heart. And if Krishna tells you now to give me $2,000, you have to take out $2,000 of your pocket and give to me immediately. And reporter became fearful that maybe this will happen and my all money will go. Then he left immediately. So the point is, a devotee is not dry renunciate that he will leave everything, but he does it without attachment. And therefore, main difference is of consciousness. A rich man may donate a lot of money, but he may be looking for his own glorification. But if a poor man gives a little money with a pure heart, it becomes greater charity than of a rich man, because difference is of consciousness. So therefore, Krishna is emphasizing on the sincerity and purity of heart. A learned person is sincere and pure. He is not attached to the results of his karma. Text 36, Shrutidhar Krishna Prabhu. Can you read? Text 26.
Yes, Prabhu.
Now the theme is, okay, a learned man is very wise. He knows how we should not be entangled in the results of the karma. So does he see other ignorant men as fallen person? Does he see other ignorant men as inferior to him? How he actually behaves, how he deals with the ignorant people. That is in verse 26. So please read, Prabhu.
So as not to disrupt the minds of ignorant men attached to the fruitive results of prescribed duties, a learned person should not induce them to stop work. Rather, by working in the spirit of devotion, he should engage them in all sorts of activities for the gradual development of Krishna consciousness.
So a devotee is very sensitive. If we can put this in simple words, a learned person is very sensitive. He doesn't make others feel inferior to himself. He doesn't make others feel that you are good for nothing. Rather, a Krishna conscious person, or in this case, a learned person, what he does, he does not disturb the ignorant person. Disturbing here means he doesn't tell them all of a sudden that you should leave everything and just renounce everything. No. Rather, what he does, he sets a good example for them to follow. For example, if a student becomes a devotee of Krishna, he studies very nicely, so that others who are not devotee of Krishna, other students, take inspiration from him. And they feel that, okay, if I also follow spiritual life, I will also study nicely. Although the ultimate aim is to know Krishna, that is ultimate aim, to surrender to Krishna. But a learned soul, a realized soul, takes others gradually to that level. He doesn't all of a sudden pushes them to that level. No. Gradually, he takes them. Like Srila Prabhupada, in the initial days of ISKCON, he did that. What he did, he recognized special qualities in devotees. Like there was one Mataji, Yadurani Mataji, and Srila Prabhupada recognized that she paints very nicely. So Prabhupada engaged him in painting. And Srila Prabhupada also guided her that how exactly Lord looks, how he's standing or sitting, and different aspects of the spiritual world. And according to that guidance, she started painting. There was another devotee, Hayagriva Prabhu. He was an English professor. So Prabhupada engaged him in editing his writings. So as per the person's qualities, as per his inclination, Prabhupada engaged them. There was another devotee, Shyamsundar Prabhu. He was a carpenter. So Srila Prabhupada engaged him in carving Lord Jagannath. There was one beautiful story how Lord Jagannath comes to ISKCON. Malti Mataji brings them from a store. They're small Jagannath. The Prabhupada gives them to Shyamsundar Prabhu that can you carve this small Jagannath into big using wood? And Shyamsundar started to carve. But he was such a new devotee, he didn't able to give up his bad habits. So he used to smoke cigarette that time also. So what happened one day, Srila Prabhupada went to see the progress of the carving of the deities. And he saw a packet of cigarette kept on the head of Jagannath. Prabhupada became very surprised to see that. Prabhupada told Shyamsundar Prabhu that why you are letting this packet of cigarette come between you and Krishna. This coming between you and Krishna. That's it. That one statement, Shyamsundar Prabhu gave up his habit of smoking. So the point is that Prabhupada knew that all these youngsters, these devotees, they are very neophyte in Krishna consciousness. And all of a sudden, they can't just accept the pure teachings of Krishna consciousness. So gradually, as per their inclinations, Prabhupada engaged them. Although bhakti is so strong by nature that it's not dependent on any state of person's inclination. If it is possible for someone to just practice bhakti, then no need of all this, dovetailing actions in Krishna consciousness and others. But for a general mass of people, those who are attached to the work, attached to their inclination, attached to their likings, we should engage them in practical devotional service as per their liking. Now, a doubt may arise, how to distinguish, because both look alike, how to distinguish person in knowledge and person in ignorance. How to distinguish person who is attached to worker and one who is detached to worker. How to distinguish this? Krishna is telling in next two verses, text 27 and 28. Krishna is telling how you can recognize difference between a attached worker and a detached worker. So let's read text 27. Chetan Prabhu, can you read?
Yes, Hare Krishna. The spirit soul bewildered by the influence of false ego thinks himself the doer of activities that are in actuality carried out by the three modes of material nature.
So here,
one who is in knowledge of the absolute.
Yes, sorry. So here,
I read 28 also, Prabhu.
Sorry,
Verse 28 also I read no.
No, just 27.
Okay, thank you.
This is a very famous verse, and this verse you can mark also. Prakritya krimanani gunai karmani sarvasha ahankar vimudatma kartaham iti mannate. So, due to the influence of ahankar means false ego. In simple words, when a spirit soul identifies with material nature, when a spirit soul thinks that I am the product of the material nature, he thinks he is the doer of all activities. But actually, who is doing? The three modes of material nature are forcing the living entity to do activities. How they are forcing? Because living entity is identifying with the body. Actually, Jiva alone, living entity alone is or not the doer, and material nature alone is also not the doer. Both are required. And there is a third person required, which is the controller of both. Controller of living entity as well as controller of the material nature. So all three are required to do any action. Because living entity will desire, then Prakriti will facilitate, then Supreme Lord will sanction, then only the one activity will be performed. But this living entity who is in false ego is convinced by false ego that he is the product of this material nature, he is the material body. He wants to take all credit himself for doing things independently. And what is the result? The result is he engages his bodily senses and mind into the service of material nature, not in the service of Supreme Personality of Godhead. So how to recognize the attached worker? You can recognize him by this tendency. He will think that he is the doer. Even we can see within spiritual circles. Sometimes we may tell that I distributed so many books. Now this I is bigger than distribution of the books. So this particular thing is false ego. I made so many devotees. I made this project successful. So wherever there is this false ego, that is a result, that is a symbol of attached worker, where he thinks that he is the doer. But when you talk to a person in pure consciousness, he will always give credit to the Supreme Lord. That by the mercy of Lord, we could distribute so many books. By the mercy of Lord, this project was successful. Lord empowered us to do this service. So this is the difference in consciousness. Yes, Saurabh Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Prabhuji, I have one question because as per the verse, everything is done by the three modes of nature in the forced condition. Now, devotee. So generally, for a devotee, the stages are first stage, second, and then it goes on. So generally in offices we work in we work in a mode of passion, and then when we go to home or in the morning when we are doing aarti, then we are more spiritual. So it can be said that that spiritual activity is also in the mode of nature. The nature is forcing us. How's it?
Not exactly. As I clarified, Prabhupada also writes in the purport of this verse that it is not done by the living entity alone, neither it is done by material nature alone. Now, material nature facilitates, but living entity has to desire, and Supreme Personality of Godhead sanctions. And mind you, this is discussion about materialistic activities. So when living entity desires to do a materialistic activity, then material nature comes into action. But when living entity desires to do spiritual activity, then divine nature of Lord, that becomes active, which will come in the subsequent chapters. Devim Prakritim Ashrita. When a living entity does spiritual activities, then Devim Prakriti, then spiritual nature becomes active. So when we do spiritual practices like chanting, reading, hearing, if the consciousness is pure, if consciousness is not of sense gratification, but if consciousness is of remembering Krishna, serving spiritual master, then it's not under the three modes of material nature. But if the consciousness is of enjoyment, like suppose I am singing kirtan so that others may glorify me, now that has become a materialistic desire. So then again my devotional service is tainted by three modes of material nature. But if the desire is pure, then it is actually under the supervision of spiritual energy. So whole this discussion is about consciousness. This is not about the activity. Activity may look 100% same, but the thing is how the person is having his consciousness. That is the difference. Okay?
Because probably here it is Prakriti Kriya Manani Sarvesha. That means every time it is done by the nature. So even if the consciousness is divine or spiritual, and we are doing any activity, so that is not controlled by the material nature.
No, no.
That
No. See, this is the context. We have to understand the context. What Krishna is telling, here Krishna is telling the symptoms of an attached worker. That is the context. But when he talks about the liberated personalities, then he will tell in the further chapters how liberated activities, person who is liberated from material clutches, when he acts, those activities are not under the supervision of material nature. So this is a specific context, that whose activities are governed by material nature for a attached worker. That is the context. Okay?
okay. Thank you.
So text 38, Sachidananda Prabhu, would you like to read? Where is my phone? Hotspot. Shalya, can you give me hotspot?
Does not engage himself in the senses and sense gratification, knowing well the differences between work in devotion and work for fruitive results.
So now Krishna is telling who is a tattvavit. You can highlight the word tattvavit. Tattvavit means one who is in knowledge. Tattva means absolute truth. And vit means knowledge. And somebody who is in knowledge of the absolute truth, he will not engage himself in sense gratification. Rather, he will engage himself in work and devotion. So this is a simple distinction Krishna is elaborating in the verse 28. Srila Prabhupada explains this, that how person who is a tattvaved, one who knows the difference between a fruitive action and a devotional activity, he is convinced that he is part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. And somehow he is trapped in the material nature. So now what is his duty? His duty is to engage his activities in Krishna consciousness. So he is not disturbed by all these material influences, but he engaged his activities just to serve the Supreme Lord. Now, Lord again reminds that it's not that one who is thinking that his only job is to serve the Lord, he becomes insensitive to others. No. How he deals with other ignorant people, Krishna is again revising it in verse 29. Diya Mataji, can you read verse 29?
Bewildered by the modes of material nature, the ignorant fully engage themselves in material activities and become attached. But the
No, it's not connecting to the main Wi-Fi. It's connected now. So basically, here Krishna is again reminding how one who is detached from material nature and is fully engaged in Krishna conscious activities, he gradually elevates the inferior people. He should be wise enough not to disturb them at their level. Like if we see Srila Prabhupada's example, when Srila Prabhupada met Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, And Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati told him that you should preach Krishna consciousness, the message of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in English language. Next day, very few devotees know this. They know that it took 11 years for Srila Prabhupada to take initiation. But very few devotees know this. The very next day, Srila Prabhupada resigned from his job because he accepted the instruction of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati as his life and soul. Although the formal initiation happened after 11 years, but the very next day he renounced, he gave up his job, and he engaged himself in trying to preach Krishna consciousness. So that was Srila Prabhupada's surrender. But that doesn't mean that when he started preaching in US, he expected same from people of United States. No, he knew their level. To the level that after he gave initiation, then also the disciples were not knowing what they're expected to do. And Prabhupada pasted a notice after giving initiation that you should follow 4 Eternal principles, you should chant 16 rounds. That was after he gave initiation. So Prabhupada said that we should not bewilder them. If they are not on that level, engage them in some moral principles. Like, okay, do benevolent activities, you can do some non-violence, you can help others, help devotees, things like that. Because devotees are very, very kind to conditioned souls. They want to gradually elevate them to the service of the Lord. Therefore, they take opportunities to gradually rise people from their conditionings. If you have read that book, Perfect Question, Perfect Answer, there is a devotee, Bob Cohen, and he asked very nice questions to Srila Prabhupada. Later on, he became initiated as Brahmatirtha Prabhu. So he asked Prabhupada that, is it necessary to offer food to Krishna every time we eat? Now, if somebody asks this as question, the obvious answer is yes. But what Prabhupada tells him? That no, you can just fold your hands and just say, thank you, Krishna. That's it. Because Krishna is providing you food, just fold your hands and just say, thank you, Krishna. Now, it's not applicable for us. Prabhupada wanted to gradually elevate his consciousness that, okay, he will be grateful to Krishna for providing the food, and slowly, he will come to the level of devotion. And that's what happened. He became an initiated devotee. Until date, he is in the movement. He's serving very nicely. Brahmatirtha Prabhu. He lives in Florida. So like that, Krishna is telling that, okay, you are a detached worker, but it doesn't mean that everybody is a detached worker. So you should inspire them to gradually rise from their conditioning, slowly, to the level of pure spiritual platform. So that way, Krishna is describing the perfect Nishkam Karma Yoga, and then Krishna summarizes it with the following verse. He summarizes so that we don't have any confusions what exactly we need to do. So now Krishna is taking Arjun from Nishkam Karma Yoga to the level of Bhakti. Do your duty depending on me. That is the essence of all the discussion which we have done till now. Mai sarvani karmani sannyassadhatma chetasa nirashir nirmamo bhutva yuddhasva vigata jvara. Very important verse. Krishna is telling, Mai sarvani karmani. You should offer all your activities unto me. Why we should offer unto you? Because sannyassadhatma chetasa. Because one should know that everything is dependent on the Supreme Lord. Nirashir. Asha means personal desire. Nirashir means no personal desires. Nirmamo. Mamo means proprietorship. Mama, mine. Nirmamo means not having that sense of proprietorship. Yuddhaswa, fight. Vigata jura, free from lethargy. Lethargy here also means ignorance. Ignorance of our duty, ignorance of our nature, ignorance of the glory of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So when we are freed from that ignorance, then we realize that no, our all activities should be dependent on the Supreme Lord. We are not the enjoyers. We are not the proprietors, but Krishna is the enjoyer. Krishna is the proprietor. So in that sense, devotee becomes a dependent servant. Like we are not servant of the senses, we are servant of Krishna. So there should not be any proprietorship. Nothing is ours. But that doesn't mean we'll become irresponsible also. No, we are servants of the Lord. So we will take care of his duty, whatever duties he has given us, we will take care of it nicely. We will serve him nicely. But we are acting as per the instruction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, either through scriptures or through the spiritual master. So then one will not be engaged in fruitive results. Like a cashier, Prabhupada gives simple example. Like a cashier may count millions of dollars for his employer, but he does not claim a cent for himself. In the same way, devotee does so many activities for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but he doesn't use them for his own sense gratification. That is the difference. A karmi, a materialistic person, what he does, he uses the same property for serving himself. Like I think I discussed this example before. Like suppose you have a nice car and you have a driver. So when driver drives you and you switch on the AC, he will also get coolness. If you play music in the car, he can also enjoy the music. But imagine you are in your office and you come out early. You find out your driver, he is enjoying the music with full AC in the car. How you will feel? You will just kick him out of the job. In the same way, we can use AC, we can use music, but in the service of the master. In the same way, devotee uses all activities, sarvani karmani, in service of Krishna. And when he does that, he is not entangled in the material clutches. So Krishna is urging Arjun that you should just do what I am telling you to do without claiming proprietorship. And Prabhupada writes a very important point that Krishna is commanding like a military officer. This Krishna consciousness is like military training. So Arjun did not have to consider the order of the Lord. He has to execute the order of the Lord. He doesn't have to judge the order of Lord is right or wrong. In army, you don't have choice. That, oh, my general or my commanding officer is telling right or wrong. No. The only thing is we have to execute the order of the commanding general. In the same way, Krishna is telling Arjun, just fight. I am telling you to fight. Now, what are the results for those who follow such teachings? What are the results of somebody who serves all his activities for the pleasure of the Lord? This is described in next two verses. What is the result of following Krishna's teachings? What exactly happens? Verse 31. Keshav Priya Mataji, would you like to read?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Text 31. Those persons who execute their duties according to my injunctions and who follow this teaching faithfully without envy become free from the bondage of fruitive actions.
So he completely becomes free from the bondage. Now I have a question here. What it means to be envying the Lord? Here Lord is telling that one who executes my instructions, that is understandable, faithfully understandable, without envy. What is the meaning of without envy? How we are envious to the Lord? What is exactly the meaning of without envy? Any thoughts?
We want to be in control.
Yes, we want to be in control. Lord is the controller. Envying means we want to replace him. And we want to control. That means we are envying Lord. Okay. Anyone else? What is the meaning of envying? It's a nice point. Any other thought? Yes.
Hare Krishna. So envying the Lord means when the other persons who are living with us are also part and parcels of the Lord. So when we envy them, like the other person is growing more than me, so I'm envying that person. So if I'm envying the person who are part and parcel of the Lord, that means we are directly envying the Lord.
Okay, that is also one possibility. That when we want to exploit others, when we want to not accept others' success, that is also envying Lord. Okay. Yes, Arun Charan Prabhu.
So this is my self-realization that I'm sharing, that envying the Lord is to enjoy independent of the Lord.
Yes, envying the Lord. Again, Lord is the enjoyer. One aspect is covered, how Lord is controller. When we want to control, we want to replace the Lord. Lord is enjoyer. He is the ultimate enjoyer. Bhoktaram yagya tapsam sarvaloka maheshwaram. He is the real enjoyer. But when we want to enjoy independently of the Lord, that means we want to replace the Lord. That is also a sign of envy. Yes, Saurabh Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Prabhuji, can it be like if we do not follow what God says, that is also envy?
Yes, I was searching for that. You see, what is envy? Envy is when you can't tolerate a person. That is envy. When you can't tolerate a person's presence in front of you, when you don't want to see him, you want to do harm to that person, that is envy. How is Lord present in front of us? In the form of his instructions, in the form of his scriptures, in the form of his holy name, in the form of his devotees. When we don't want to take his guidance through all these, that means we are envying the Lord. So Lord is telling, without envying me, that means we should appreciate his presence. He is present in different forms. He is present in scriptures, devotees, holy name. So when we take guidance of the Lord, that means we are not envying the Lord. It's a very important aspect. So when we follow Lord without envy and with faith, Shraddhanvanto and Anasuyanto, then we become free from the bondage of fruitive actions. Yes.
Krishna Prabhu,
Yes, Prabhu.
can we say not accepting the supremacy of the Lord is also a kind of enviousness?
Yes, yes. It's in the same theme. See, when we don't accept his supremacy, that means we neglect his orders. Suppose the Prime Minister of country instructs us to do something. Will we neglect his instruction? Because we accept his authority. So when envy Lord means we don't accept his supremacy, we don't understand, we don't appreciate his instructions, and we don't follow his instructions. So that is the main thing. So when he is non-envious, then he follows instructions and he becomes free from the bondage. Yes, Saurabh Prabhu.
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Prabhuji, in this case, for example, if a person is born in something like America or Canada, and he doesn't know anything about Vedic culture, Bhagavad Gita, and he's a morally very right person, and he does good with everyone, and he's a good person. In that case, how, is he envy, or is he like how will he get delivered in that case? Because he doesn't know, he has never seen.
We can say he's not fortunate. Because see, if he is fortunate enough, Sukritino Arjuna, Krishna tells in 7th chapter, if he is really fortunate, if he is having pious credits, then he will come to Krishna. He will come in association of devotees, he will come in association of the Vedic scriptures, and subsequently he will come to the level of devotional service. So he is not sinful, but he is not fortunate, we will say. So he may follow the conduct of morality, he may be very good and honest person, but main fortune will arise when he will come into the contact of devotional service through devotees or Vedic scriptures. So that is very important. Otherwise, so-called morality, again, as we discussed in the previous classes also, so-called morality may not exactly be morality. because we may think that we are doing good, but actually we are getting bound in the karmic reactions. Like Arjun was such a moral person. He was telling that why I should fight with my brothers, why I should fight with my teacher, why I should fight with my grandfather. It's very moral activity, but he was caught. That is not the proper thing to do at that time. So therefore we need guidance of the scriptures and the Supreme Lord through his devotees. And until unless one comes to that fortune, one may continue into the bondage of work. Okay?
Sure, bro. So that means, Prabhuji, in the world, the 700 crores of population is there, human population. That means 99.9% are unfortunate.
No, it's not like that, because Krishna has sent Srila Prabhupada all over the world. Now anyone has an equal chance of coming to Krishna consciousness than Indians. So everybody has this chance, but they have to take it seriously. Actually, it was always there. For a sincere soul, if somebody is really wanting to surrender to the Supreme Lord, Krishna sends guidance. Narad Muni is traveling in 14 planetary systems. So everywhere there is chance of accepting Krishna consciousness. But the thing is, person has to come to the level of those pious credits, which Krishna is telling, Sukritina. Either they desire for coming to Krishna consciousness, or they accidentally serve some devotee, or they accidentally come in contact of some pure spiritual assets like Tulsi or pious rivers, or some kind of pious credits. When these pious credits assemble, then he comes to the contact of pure devotees, like that. Okay?
Okay. Hare Krishna.
Text 32. Let's see who will read. Somebody with the video off. Let's see. Yashodanandan Prabhu, are you there?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah. Can you read verse 32? You are on mute.
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah.
Result of disregarding my teachings out of envy, those who do not follow my teachings are devoid of all knowledge and discrimination and are befooled and ruined.
So basically what happens, those who follow the path of Lord without envy, they are liberated. And those out of envy, they disregard the teachings of the Lord. Do not follow the teachings of the Lord, they are bereft of all knowledge and they remain entangled in the karmic reactions. Just like one is disobedient to the order of the supreme authority of a country, then that person is in prison. That person is given punishment. Same in the case of disobeying the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now the question may be asked, will a person who is aware of punishment of sinful actions, is he really afraid of committing them? Like somebody may know the scriptural teachings, but still they commit sinful activities. How to understand that? Somebody may be aware of what is good and bad, but still they choose bad. How to understand that? That depends on their particular nature. Now Krishna will talk about this in next few verses. Basically, this is the concept of Varnashram Dharma. Namra Sita Mataji, can you read this quote from Srila Prabhupada?
Hare Krishna. On the bodily plane, Swadharma is called Varnashram Dharma, or man's stepping stone for spiritual understanding. Human civilization begins from the stage of Varnashram Dharma. 2.3.
This Varnashram is basically categorization on the basis of three modes of material nature. We discussed this in the last chapter also. Now, what exactly happens is, person works according to his own nature. He may know what is good and bad, but the deep-rooted conditioning is of the three modes of material nature. Like you may have seen many people, they know the ill effects of eating junk food, but still they eat junk food. Why is that? Because of their nature, they are accustomed, they like junk food. It's not that they don't know. Okay, let's leave out junk food. We all eat that. Let's talk about smoker. Those who do smoking, don't they know that smoking kills? We remember that in our childhood, there used to be warning on the packets of cigarette. Smoking is injurious to health. Now they've changed that warning. Now they write smoking kills. So people don't read that. They read it. But while reading only, they smoke. This is conditioning. Like those who are habituated to drinking liquor, drunkards, they read all this warning that while drinking, your liver will be spoiled, you may die, you may develop cancer, and this and that. But still they drink. Why is that? Krishna is describing. This is because of the influence of the three modes of material nature. We are acting according to the nature we acquired from three modes of material nature. Let's read from verse 33. Usha Mataji, would you like to read the translation for 33?
Yes, Prabhuji. Even a man of knowledge acts according to his own nature, for everyone follows the nature he has acquired from the three modes. What can repression accomplish?
So unless one is not situated on the transcendental platform of Krishna consciousness, he cannot be freed from the influence of this modes of material nature. And this modes of material nature, they'll do like a puppet show. You must have seen that famous photo in Bhagavad Gita. The three modes of material nature are actually making person dance. So this deep-rooted conditioning nature, although person knows what is in the scriptures, then also he is accustomed to do his things which he is habituated to do. So now how to overcome that? How to come to the level of pure consciousness? Krishna is telling there is need of gradual purification. One has to gradually purify his senses. One has to gradually purify his mind. One has to gradually purify his intelligence. So Krishna will come to that, but he is telling how we come under the control of these three modes. He will describe that. Let us read the next verse. Nishtha Mataji, can you read verse 34?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Attraction and repulsion for sense objects are felt by embodied beings, but one should not fall under the control of senses and sense objects because they are stumbling blocks on the path of self-realization.
So how these modes, they bind us? There may be two possibilities. One is attachment and one is aversion. One is called raga, one is called dvesha. Both are the two faces of the same coin. If you're too attached to something, that is also an bondage. If you're hating, if you're having hatred for something, if you're averse to something, that is also an impediment, that is also a stumbling block in spiritual life. Generally, we are attached to something which helps us in our sense gratification. And we hate something which is obstacle in our sense gratification. It's not that we hate the sense object of our attachment, no. Because we can't get that sense object, we hate it. We have seen in India many times, in college or in youth, the boys sometimes they harm the girls whom they cannot make friends with. They throw acid on their face. It's very common. Why they do that? Because I cannot enjoy this woman, I will harm her so nobody can enjoy. This aversion is another form of attachment. Like when we eat food, when we don't like, sometimes there are some devotees, they do Nirjala Ekadashi because they don't like Ekadashi food. They don't like Ekadashi Prasad. So said, who will eat Ekadashi Prasad? Rather, let us do Nirjala Ekadashi. So that kind of aversion is another attachment, is attachment to eating. It's not renunciation. So here, even Dhritarashtra's example, Dhritarashtra want to hear the glory of his own sons, but is disliking to hear about Pandava's glory. So again, attachment and aversion. So we become attached to things which support our sense gratification. And we become averse to things which become impediment to our sense gratification. Therefore, too much hatred is also sign of attachment. I remember one time we were in Pune and Jananivas Prabhu came from Mayapur. You all must be knowing Jananivas Prabhu. He's senior disciple of Srila Prabhupada, lives in Mayapur. So he came to Pune and a team of devotees went to him for taking his interview. They wanted him to speak about how woman is dangerous for men. And they were thinking that, look, Jananivas Prabhu is brahmachari since 5 decades and he can speak about this topic very much. To their surprise, Jananivas Prabhu told that I cannot speak about how woman is danger for men, but I can speak about how men should respect women. Because to be a good brahmachari, you don't need to hate women. That is another sign of attachment. You need to respect women as mothers. Then only you can remain brahmachari. So that opened their eyes. And he told that those who are aversiful, those who are disrespectful to women, they will be first victim of lust. They will be the first victims of lust. Krishna will make sure that they will fall down. So anyway, the point is, we should not be too attached. As well, we should not be averse to sense gratification. We don't have any personal likings. In cutting the story short, we will only do what Krishna wants us to do. We're neither attached nor either aversiful to any activity. We are just dependent on our spiritual authorities for what we need to do. Text 35, Krishna is simplifying the subject by telling one more verse. Okay, Devadev Prabhu, would you like to read translation of 35th verse?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes.
It is far better to discharge one prescribed duties, even though faulty, than another's duties perfectly. Destruction in the course of performing one's own duty is better than engaging in one another's duties. For to follow another's path is dangerous.
Shreyan swadharma viguna paradharma swanishtitat swadharme nidhanam shreya paradharma bhayavaha. Again, very important verse. You can mark this verse. It's very important for our day-to-day practice. Krishna is telling how it is important to discharge one's own prescribed duties. Nature of this world is grass on another side always look greener. We always think others' job is very simple. And we have so many opinions, so much of advice to give it to others that how they should do their job. But when it comes to our own job, then we have so many explanations and justifications why we are not able to do our job properly. So Krishna is telling, Arjun, you are thinking about renouncing everything and going to the forest. Do you think their job is simple? What about you going to the forest and becoming attached to a deer like Bharat Maharaj? Then what will happen to your spiritual progress? So grass on another side always look greener. Do your duty. Even though you are feeling there is fallacy in your duty, don't worry. Shreyan swadharma viguna. It's better to do your own duty with some faults rather than looking for some another's job which may be looking very lucrative to you. Suppose a person, he is appointed as a manager of a company. He leaves his job and he goes and cooks, say, some food for all the employees. It's good, he can cook, but his main job is to manage the company. One should stick to his prescribed duties, not to imitate another's prescribed duties. There are many government officers, they have their own duties and responsibilities allotted. If one thinks that no, my duty is not so important, let me go to somebody else's office and do his duty, he will not be considered as a good officer. Another example, simple, like going to temple. It's a good activity, it's a good habit. But suppose students miss their school to go to the temple, that will not be considered proper. Now their duty is to study school, they can go to temple in evening. Like doing social work, nice thing. But suppose all ladies, they leave their children, they leave their husband, they leave their household duties, and they go and do social work for outside. It's nice, but not on the cost of neglecting one's own duties. That is the point. So we have to do our duty very nicely. On a material platform, we see that how a natural dharma of Brahmana is to be non-violent. But natural dharma of Kshatriya is fighting. So one has to act as per his psychophysical nature in material prescribed duties. But yes, when it comes to spiritual duties, then no consideration of psychophysical nature. Then whatever Guru speaks, let's do it. Brahmana can work like a Kshatriya, Kshatriya can work like a Brahmana. That all is possible. So in both ways, now for Arjun, if we count materially, his duty is to fight as a Kshatriya. Spiritually, he already accepted Krishna as spiritual master. Krishna already told in 30th verse that just fight, give up your lethargy and fight. So both ways, Arjun's duty here is to fight. He cannot give up his Shreyan Swadharma. Swadharma means his own dharma, his own duty. Please read this quote from Srila Prabhupada. Kripalu Keshavi Mataji, can you read? Please unmute. Yes.
Okay, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Yes, please read.
Activity in Krishna consciousness or acting for the benefit of Krishna without expectation of sense gratification is the highest transcendental quality of work. Even a small beginning of such activity finds no impediment, nor can that small beginning be lost at any stage.
So we have to learn to act for Krishna. And even if the activity may be very small or may have some fallacies, that's okay. Now, Arjun asks a very, very important question. For next few minutes, please be very attentive because I am going to make teams again and wake all devotees up, those who are sleeping, especially those who have switched off their videos. We need to wake them up also. So now, Arjun is going into a very important question. Many times people blame God that anyway we are not in control, God is under control. So why he is allowing us to do sinful activities? We don't want to do sinful activities, but we feel that somebody is forcing us to do sinful activities. What is that force? We know that we don't want to do sinful activities. What is that particular force which is impelling living entity to do sinful activities? Atha kena praya yuktoyam papam charati purusha anichan api varshina. Ichha means desire. Anichha means without even desire. I don't want to practice, I don't want to do sinful activity. Balad eva niyojita. Balad means with force. Somebody is forcing me to do sinful activities unwillingly. How to understand this? See, all living entities by nature are pure. They are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. They don't want to do sinful activity. But when they come in contact of material nature, living entity acts in many sinful ways. Sometimes even against his will. So Arjuna's question to Krishna is very appropriate. Sinful actions are not impelled by the super soul. Super soul will never force living entity to do sinful actions. Then who is forcing? Who is the enemy who is forcing us to do sinful actions? Krishna is telling Nitya Vairina. Nitya Vairina means eternal enemy. He is our Nitya means eternal. Vairi means enemy. Who is our eternal enemy? Lust. So next few verses from 36 to 43, Krishna is focusing on this lust. Now what we will do is, we will divide the class into 3 groups. And I will request you to read 2 verses in each group. I will project that in on screen. What you need to do, please take a screenshot of this screen, or you can take a photo. What you need to do, you need to read your allocated verse and purport. Okay? And then identify the general principles from Krishna's analysis of lust. How Krishna is describing this particular enemy of ours. What are the dangers of lust? How lust acts, where lust resides, how lust influences us. What are the results of listening to the demands of lust? And in the last portion, how we can get rid of lust. So you can use some examples also to make the presentation more easy to understand. Please take sufficient time to read the verse and purport and write down the points. Make your presentation in 4 minutes. You can take 4 minutes to present. Each team should select a speaker. Try to select someone who has not become speaker in the past. So you give chance to some new person from each team. Make him a speaker. He should highlight the main points from the allocated verse and then also give some examples to explain the point. You can use points from purport as well as from your memory, from your learnings, from contemporary examples, from scriptural examples. You can support the teaching. Okay? So group 1 is going to do, you can take screenshot. Group 1 is going to do 37, 38. Group 2 is going to do 39, 40. And group 3 is going to do 41, 42, 43. Last 3 verses. Group 1, 37, 38. Group 2, 39, 40. Group 3, 41, 42, 43. So, okay. So I'm going ahead and dividing the class. Please participate and select a speaker, but others should also give the points and make it a very nice presentation. We'll take 10 minutes. So please be quick, read nicely and give your points quickly. We'll take 10 minutes for preparation and then each team gets 4 minutes to present. So also keep your presentation limited to 4 minutes. Okay. So I'm dividing the class into 3 rooms. Okay, you can join your respective rooms. We meet back after 10 minutes.
Our anger, it. So further Srila Prabhupada says in purport that we as human, as living entities, we have partial independence of in this material world. So when we misuse this independence, that also comes under the sway of lust. Now the question comes is how we can get rid of this lustful propensity. So here Srila Prabhupada says that Lord has created this material creation for our conditioned souls to satisfy our lustful propensities. And when we do this, when we are completely baffled by our lustful activities, when we get so much difficulty with them, then living entities try to inquire about their real position, that who exactly we are. And that inquiry is the beginning of our real identity, which is called as Atatho Brahma Jigyasa. So one should inquire into the Supreme after this thing. And then here Srila Prabhupada describes that the origin of lust is also in the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So when the lust is transformed into the love for Supreme, then that is Krishna consciousness. For example, Hanuman used his wrath in exhibiting the burning the golden city of Ravan. And by doing so, he became the greatest devotee. Also in Bhagavad Gita, Arjun engaged his wrath, his anger upon his enemies, and he followed the instructions of Krishna. So he satisfied the Lord. He used his wrath, his anger, his lust in satisfying and following the instructions of Krishna. And that's how he transformed his lust into Krishna conscious love. And that's how our lust becomes our friend from enemy. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much for summarizing these two verses. So Krishna tells how the main enemy which causes us to work in the material clutches is kamesha krodesha. Actually, basically it is lust. And when lust is unsatisfied, it turns into krodha, which is anger. And both are actually lust is the product of mode of passion. And when lust is not fulfilled, then it falls into the mode of ignorance, that is anger. Basically, what is this lust? Love of God is there in every living entity's heart. When that love of God transforms into tendency to enjoy material nature, that is called lust. Just like milk in contact of sour tamarind is transferred into yogurt, in the same way this love for Lord is transformed into lust. And Krishna is telling about 3 degrees of lust. He gives 3 examples. One is smoke, one is dust, one is womb. Just like fire is covered by smoke. When there's bright fire, there is not much smoke. But if you see the fire, like if the wood is wet, and if you try to lit fire in the wet wood, it gives more smoke than fire. So this is compared to human beings. Lust in human beings is very small covering like smoke on fire. But if we fan it, the fire will ignite, the fire will embrace. Therefore, it's very much possible to overcome lust in human life. Second example is given of dust covering the mirror. So if dust is covering the mirror, you can't see your own reflection. So it's more severe covering than smoke and fire. See, when there is smoke, you can still see fire. But if the mirror is covered by dust, you can't see your reflection. And this is compared to lust in animals. It's very, very difficult to overcome lust in the animal life. If we are fortunate enough to come in contact of a pure devotee in animal life, like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he even made animals to chant the holy name. So then it is different. Otherwise, it is very difficult. And third analogy Krishna is giving is like a living entity is covered by embryo. Sorry, the embryo is covered in the womb. You can't see the embryo at all. It's the complete covering. So this is the most intense form of lust, which is found in trees. Trees are so lusty people in the previous life that they are meant to be naked and stagnant in one place in the form of trees, and they are helpless. They can't get rid of their lust in that particular species. Only when they gradually evolve in species and come to human form, then it is possible, except a few exceptions, but otherwise it's not generally possible. So, but how to utilize this lust, how to utilize this anger, Prabhupada told in the purport, as also told in the presentation, like Hanuman used his anger in fighting with the enemies of Lord Ram. Arjun actually, Lord is inducing Arjun to fight for him. In the same way, lust means passion to achieve something. Now, when we have that same passion to achieve for Krishna's service, for his satisfaction, that becomes love, for his sense gratification. So therefore, this is the small description of lust and how to engage lust and anger in Krishna's service. Okay, team 2, who is the speaker? Did you decide the speaker? Team 2?
Yes.
Okay, let me see who all are there. Anupama Mataji, Braj Sevika Mataji, Jagatambika Mataji, Namra Sita Mataji, Saurabh Prabhu, Venudhari Prabhu. Who is the speaker?
Kigan Sharma, Prabhuji.
Anyone can tell the points.
Hare Krishna.
Venudhari Prabhu, would you like to try?
He's here, Prabhu.
He's here,
Can't
Prabhu.
hear you.
He has already noted all the
Sorry,
points.
sorry, sorry, I was on mute. Yeah, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. I'm not used to speaking, so I will try my best.
Yes.
Sorry,
my volume was off, so I could not hear when you were speaking.
Yeah, it's okay. So regarding the discussion and identify general principles from Krishna's analysis of lust, from the points that I have noted, that lust is our eternal enemy. No matter how we try to satisfy it, it's like putting fuel to fire. So it's never saturated, even when we go on gratifying it, and it always burns like fire. The mind is the center of all the sense gratification. So Krishna shows us the three sitting places of lust, namely the senses, mind, and intelligence. Here in these two verses, how to conquer it is not given here. Lust can never be extinguished. Lust is like the shackles of life for us to stay in the material world. I just noted it in the bullet points. I did not seem to explain it nicely.
Yeah.
Maybe some of my friends can pick up. No?
Yes. Yes. I will just add a few things. Like how you rightly mentioned, lust is the shackles by which a living entity is bound to the material nature. In fact, this material nature is called as Maithun Agar. Maithun Agar means a prison house of sex desire. Just like in prison house, the prisoners are bound by shackles. In material world, we are also bound by shackles. The shackles are lust. And the problem with lust is it is never satisfied. Therefore, it is Nitya Varinam. Nitya means eternal enemy. How it's eternal enemy? Because it's never satisfied. No matter how much you want to satisfy the lust, it will always increase in demand. Just like if the fire is blazing and if you put a lot of ghee, it will increase more fire. It will not decrease the fire. Like in Europe, there was a king, and he was very famous. He was very fond of eating. So what he did, he used to arrange elaborate, feast for himself. His subjects would cook a lot of items. And when he used to eat, and when he used to feel that his stomach is full, then he used to take some medicine to vomit. So then he would vomit. Then again his stomach will be empty. Then again he would eat. Then again he'll full. Then again he'll take medicine, again vomit. Then again he will eat. So such level of sense gratification. Because it's not satisfying. Lust cannot satisfy a living entity. Love can satisfy a living entity. Therefore, there is a famous saying, at first a person drinks liquor, later on liquor drinks the person. That is the person. Person thinks that he is exploiting through lust, but actually lust is exploiting the person. And this lust is so strategically positioned in the life of a living entity. First, lust is in indriyani, in the senses. It's in the senses. The senses, whenever they come in the contact of material objects, there is immediate desire to enjoy. Like if you see fresh apple and orange and tangerine in front of you, how you feel? Let me eat it. Just by seeing, the desire will come. The lust is there in senses. As soon as you see working senses, knowledge acquiring senses, as soon as you come in contact of sense object, the desire for exploitation comes. Lust is there in the senses. Lust is there in the mind. Because mind is the center of all activities for senses. So mind drives the senses. Okay, let us enjoy. And then lust is in the intelligence. Intelligent plans how to gratify the senses. So these all are very strategic positions for lust. Therefore, this lusty intelligence influences spirit soul to enjoy in the material world through mind and senses. And as a result, person gets more and more entangled. Okay, last team, let's hear from them how to conquer the lust. Who is the speaker?
I'm the speaker, Prabhuji.
Yes, Sachidanand Prabhu.
Okay, Prabhuji. So basically in the 3 verses, Krishna is going to continue telling us about lust and how we can conquer lust and let that lust affect us. So in 41st purport, Prabhupada says that lust is the perverted reflection of love of God, which is naturally present in every one of the living entity. Okay? He says that, but when we are in Krishna consciousness, then the natural love for God cannot deteriorate into lust. Okay? So he's saying that we need to always stay in Krishna consciousness. In this way, we will not be affected by lust. And he also says that we should follow the regulative principles. By following the regulating principles, we'll be successful in turning our lust into love for God. Then in the 42 verse, Krishna describes how the position actually of lust. Okay, first of all, he describes the position. He says that soul is superior to intelligence, which in turn is superior to mind, which in turn is superior to senses, and senses are superior to dull matter. Okay, so he describes this position. Then in 42 verse, he also describes how lust comes to our mind through our senses. Okay, so the point is our senses are driving us towards the object of our material attraction. Okay, so this is the whole point, is that our senses are actually driving us towards the object of our material satisfaction, attraction. As you said, if we see an apple, for instance, will automatically be, our senses will automatically be driving us towards that object of sense gratification. Then in the 43rd verse, Srila Prabhupada says, Krishna says actually, when the senses are engaged in activities of Krishna consciousness, the activities do not lead us to lust. In fact, we don't need to give up performance of activities when we are in Krishna consciousness, because we are actually on the spiritual plane. So lust do not actually attack us in any way when we are under spiritual plane. Then we also see that lust resides in Indrani, in our senses, mana, mind, and buddhi, intelligence. Okay. Then we can actually just summarize everything that we said. We can say that lust should be dealt with from the beginning by sense control, because lust destroys knowledge and urge for self-realization. And lust makes us forget our constitutional position of being the servant of the Lord. And lust is to be gratified by senses, but when one has higher consciousness, Krishna consciousness, the soul can connect to the Supreme Lord. So lust can be destroyed by executing devotional service. So this is what we can conclude, Prabhuji.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Sachidananda Prabhu. If we summarize the last 3 verses, we can study this flow chart that in the normal state, what should happen is soul should guide intelligence. Intelligence should guide the mind. Mind should guide the senses, and senses should control the matter. This is the normal state. But in conditional state, what happens is matter attracts the senses. This is what the lust is. Person is attracted through senses to enjoy the matter. Then senses drive the mind. And as per the demands of mind, intelligence plan that, okay, how I will gratify the senses. And then soul has to follow the karmic reaction. Now, Krishna tells how to make yourself, like how to overcome the strength of lust. He said, strengthen the intelligence. If we strengthen the intelligence, then what will happen? Intelligence will control the mind. So steady the mind by deliberate spiritual intelligence. If intelligence gets nourishment of spiritual objects, spiritual nourishment, then intelligence will become strengthened. Then intelligence will control the mind, mind can control the senses, and then by this spiritual strength, we can overcome the enemy known as lust. So we should regulate the senses for sure, but the main solution what Krishna is giving in the last verse, we should strengthen our intelligence by spiritual supplements. When we do that, then it becomes easier to control the mind and senses. So today we discussed how there's difference between an attached worker and a detached worker. We also discussed how a detached worker deals with attached worker. We also discussed that even though person knows scriptures, why he acts in a particular way. So we discussed the influence of the 3 modes of material nature. In very short, in subsequent chapters, we will discuss in detail. And then we discussed how even unwillingly person is dragged to sense gratification or sinful activities. The main reason is lust, and how to overcome lust by strengthening intelligence. Yes, Namrasita Mataji.
Prabhu, this line, it is mentioned in 42, but above the mind is the determination of the intelligence, and above the intelligence is the soul.
Yes.
So since soul is above the intelligence, so little confusion is that you said if we engage our intelligence and we understand that that we are not the body, we are the soul, part and parcel of Krishna, then everything falls in place below. So, but soul is the higher, it is higher than intelligence.
Yeah, so but the first connection of soul is through false ego, the identification. And that identification leads to the planning phase, the intelligence phase. So how soul has to deal with matter will start through false ego and intelligence. Here Krishna skipped false ego because that is anyway misidentification. So Krishna starts with intelligence. So somewhere soul has to start. So when soul strengthens his intelligence by spiritual supplements, then he can control mind and senses. Now what is happening? The drive of senses is so strong that intelligence is being carried away in that direction. But it should not happen like that. Like sometimes people, they take their dog for a walk. The dog runs fast and he drags the master. That should not happen actually. But here senses are dragging the intelligence. So intelligence has to become strong. That is what Krishna is pointing out.
Prabhu, then intelligence becomes higher than the soul?
Not
That
exactly. Soul is not controlling intelligence. Sorry, intelligence is not controlling soul. Soul is utilizing intelligence to control the senses. See, it's about the weapon which soul should use. Soul has to use some medium to control lust. So that is intelligence. Intelligence is shastrena. Krishna will tell in the subsequent chapter that knowledge is like a sword which can cut the attachments. So it's like a weapon. Strengthening intelligence is weapon of soul to fight with the enemy called lust. The weapon is not controlling the master. Master is using weapon to fight with the enemy. That is the understanding. Okay. Sudevi Mataji.
Yes, Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, there is a sentence in text 33 in the translation. What can repression accomplish? I didn't understand that.
How can?
What can repression accomplish? Like in the translation of text 33.
Yeah, repression means like artificially repressing, artificially detaching ourselves. It will not happen like that. Nigraha. Nigraha means artificially taking us out of sense gratification will not work. The three modes are influencing us. So Krishna is telling how you can get out of it because three modes are controlling you. That is what the meaning is. Krishna is telling that sadrisham chetase swasya prakrite jnanatvam api prakritim yanti bhutani nigraha kim karishyati. How you can nigraha, how you can repress, how you can control these urges of senses, because you are actually under the influence of three modes. So you can't just get out of it, the influence of the three modes, without Krishna consciousness. That is the main theme of that verse. Okay.
Thank you, Prabhu.
So we summarize today and this third chapter of Bhagavad Gita. I request devotees to kindly go through the fourth chapter now. You can start with reading the fourth chapter. So next couple of days, we will study the fourth chapter. And the next week, Krishna willing, we'll complete this unit. And we have kept the exam. I've posted the date on the group. So I will just share the booklet once. Yeah, in the meantime, I am getting the booklet. Venudhari Prabhu, you want to say something?
Yes, Prabhuji. So through intelligence, we can overcome lust. We have intelligent person like Vishwamitra, Indra, Gemini Rishi, they all become victims of this. So you can put some light on this, Prabhu, please.
So Krishna told specifically spiritual intelligence. And Prabhupada clarifies that in the purport, that intelligence in Krishna consciousness. So yogis, they are having mixed intelligence. These all big yogis, Vishwamitra and all, Brihaspati, they mixed intelligence, where the intelligence is mixed with jnana, the tendency to become free, tendency to become liberated. Sometimes their tendency is to get siddhis, so spiritual, not spiritual actually, mystic powers. So these all are some mixed impurities in intelligence. So therefore, they are not considered to be pure intelligence. They are still influenced by material influences. Yes, Namrasita Mataji.
Prabhu, in verse number 15, if I'll read out this line. If we have to work for the satisfaction of the Yajna Purush, Vishnu, then we must find out the direction of work in Brahman. So, what does Brahman over here indicates?
Brahman here means spiritual subject matter. Brahman means spiritual subject matter. Like we tell Shabda Brahma. Shabda Brahma means spiritual, scriptural words. So here Brahma means spiritual reality. Now, can devotees see my screen? Can you see my screen?
Yes,
yes.
Okay. So this is page number 15 of your student handbook. I presume you all have the soft copy, and if at all you are missing it, you can take it from the drive link, which is on the group. Or if you don't get still, you can personally message me, I will send you. So here all verses of 5 units are given. Now I have shared the document for unit 2, but if you are enthusiastic to learn other units verses also from now, you can take the verse number from here and start learning. So that is possible. You can take verses from here. Now, important thing which I want to tell is, you can come to the page number, page number 23. These are some short notes on unit 1. Like you can see, these are the 5 reasons for Arjuna's not fighting, and there are verses number given. Then there is overview of 2nd chapter. Then there are symptoms of Dhira Purusha, how Krishna defeats Arjuna's arguments. We have studied till here. Now Krishna will tell the yoga system. Karma Kanda Krishna already told. Karma Yoga Krishna already told. Now in 4th, 5th and 6th chapter, Krishna will tell Gyan Yoga and Dhyan Yoga, which we will study from tomorrow. There is also description of yoga ladder, links between yoga processes, how there is links. Karma Kanda leads to Karma Yoga, then Karma Yoga to Gyan Yoga, Gyan Yoga, Dhyan Yoga to Bhakti Yoga. So we have only covered till Karma Yoga till now, 3rd chapter. We will go to Jnana, Dhyana and Bhakti in next few chapters starting from tomorrow. So you can go through these charts, and what it is important, I am sharing now. So this particular page number 26 onwards, you can see a question bank. Okay, please listen to it attentively. This is a question bank. You need to find the answers of these questions from Bhagavad Gita. Okay, so here is a question like, what is the significance of Dhritarashtra saying Mamaka? Okay, this is a question. And in bracket, the shloka number is given, verse number is given, 1.1. 1st chapter, 1st verse. Okay, so you will get answer of this question in this particular verse. Answer should be only 1 word or maximum 1 sentence. It should not be more than that. Just 1 word or 1 sentence at max, not more than that. Okay, each of these questions, only one word answer or maximum one sentence. Like that, there is questions on chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4, chapter 5, chapter 6. So page number 26 and 27. This question bank is there. Your exam, closed book exam, will be coming from these questions only. So what you need to do, you need to find out answers of these questions from Bhagavad Gita. Don't copy others' answers because it may not be correct. People may not find right answers. So only believe on your own notes. You can refer to Bhagavad Gita. There is shloka number mentioned. Find out your own answers and learn them. Answer should be only one word or one sentence. That's it. No long answers. So it's easy to remember. Is it okay? These 63 questions, you should start working from now onwards. Find out answers from them for them. Then on next page, on 28, 29 and 30, there are some analogies. Like example, Prabhupada is telling, compassion for the dress of drowning men is senseless. Similarly, a man fallen in ocean of nations cannot be saved simply by rescuing his outer dress. So there are many examples which Prabhupada is giving. Like Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan, Prabhupada is giving, comparing to sunshine, sun surface and sun planet. We need to remember this. These 5 pages will be your syllabus for exam. 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Only these 5 pages you have to remember for your exam. Shloka test is already done, so no shlokas will be asked. Only these 5 pages you have to learn and come. Remember, answer should not be long, only one word or one sentence. That's it. To the point. Any questions? So please start working on it. And if you face any difficulty in any answer, you can send me a voice note. I will help.
Prabhu, I have a question. For example, question 2, chapter 1.
Yeah.
Why was Dhritarashtra fearful? So I think there are like many answers to this. So we can put it in bullet points.
When you will read the purport, you will find one exact phrase which Prabhupada used. So just use that.
Okay.
Therefore,
Okay,
there is a number given. So it becomes very easy.
Yes.
You read that verse, you will get the exact phrases. Just use that much.
Okay. Okay, Prabhu, thank you.
And in specifically after reading, you don't find any answer, if there is any confusion, you can send me a voice note and a screenshot. I will help. Yes, Anupama Mataji.
Prabhuji, how the questions came from analogies?
Yeah, questions from analogies. Let me share the screen. Questions from analogies come in the form of fill in the blanks. Like you see this one. A person puts on new garments, giving up the old ones. The dash similarly accepts new dash, giving up the old and useless ones. So then you have to put soul and material body like that. So it comes
Only fill up. So
only fill
only
up.
fill ups.
Yes.
Oh.
From analogies, fill in the blanks come.
Okay.
Okay. Or sometimes true false may also come. Like it's written, as a strong wind sweeps away boat on water, even one roaming senses on which intelligence focuses can carry away man's mind. So it's swiped. Mind with intelligence, intelligence mind. So it will say true or false. Answer is false. So like analogies will come in that fashion. And these questions may come directly. So you have to fill a word or sentence, whatever is appropriate.
Okay.
Prabhu, how will the test be conducted?
It will be online, and you will have a a software. We have a software, and you'll just get it on your phone or laptop, and you just need to select the multiple choice answers. There is something to be filled, you need to type a word or like that.
Okay.
True or false, you just need to select true or false. Fill-ups, you have to fill one word. Maximum it takes 10 to 15 minutes to give this paper, this exam. It's not a long exam, but just that 5 page numbers which I told, if you cover that, that is sufficient. Okay, thank you so much. Sorry for taking
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Shri Prabhupada ki jai.